My oldest daughter had come to me with some concerns about her sister's moods that she had noticed in the last couple days, and found an email that my daughter had written to a friend, essentially reaching out, stating that she was feeling suicidal.
I grew up with a mom who was bipolar and also has been diagnosed with schizophrenia.
With Zach, it started with having stomach issues and nervousness. It took about a year longer, and we started noticing other changes going on with him, withholding himself, cutting.
It was just a lot of isolation. I lost motivation to do anything.
I always knew there was a problem. I couldn't exactly put my finger on it. I kind of thought maybe it was just a teenage act. He was being a little rebellious, kind of coming into his own.
She did inform me that she was suicidal, was very confused with the feelings she was having, but knew that she had a desire not to live. I immediately contacted our family therapist. He was able to give me some guidance in where to go and what to do.
Growing up was confusing for me as a kid, and I ended up rebelling in teen years. I had struggles in reaction to my mom's mental health.
We went and spoke immediately with his doctor and decided to start medication. We explained that he was coming out and talking about things, which is a huge step. They worry more when kids do not speak.
I got to a point where I'm like, well, I guess I do actually have something. Before I didn't think of it. I didn't think there was an issue.
I knew he was having some problems at school with bullies, and at first I didn't get really involved, and then I decided I wanted to become a really active role in trying to remedy the situation. And so my husband and I attended a Be Nice conference that they had at school one evening, and it was an eye-opener. They talked about signs and symptoms of suicide, or actually mental health issues leading to suicidal tendencies. And we saw our son in a great deal of the signs and symptoms.
The most helpful information that I found and that I received was from the family therapist. He was very quick on his feet to direct us to head to Holland Hospital for an assessment there, so we could find placement somewhere within the Grand Rapids area that would be beneficial for my daughter. And then the remainder of the help that I found actually came from the psychiatric hospital that my daughter had spent some time at.
I attempted suicide myself when I was 16. Just with all the anger and resentment that I had inside, not understanding, her mental illness. Speaking with her counselor, who helped me understand what she was struggling with, and then through a school counselor that I had as a teenager.
We did go through believing that it was normal teen activity. We blamed video games, him hiding himself in them, staying in a dark basement. We thought these were just the things he would do. He wasn't an angry person. When we did call the health department, they told us that we needed to go forth and take him to the emergency room. That was not what I felt was needed at that point. So we continued on to meet with a crisis counselor the next morning, and that's when we proceeded to decide what would be best for him. I didn't feel he needed to go stay in a hospital. He wasn't to that point. I didn't think he was going to harm himself that day. So luckily Pine Rest had a day program that we continued with, and we ended up doing 5 days. And that was a huge help to him. I just feel that a lot of parents probably do worry, you don't want to go put your child in this hospital that's isolated, and there is other options. And he continued to do lacrosse after school, played in the games, but went during the day to get the help he needed.
At Pine Rest, it was a lot of just talking to other people and realizing that I'm not alone. I realized that with every step I take, is another step I'll be taking with someone else.
I actually made a lot of phone calls to some local mental health care facilities. I was really heartbroken with the fact that I was told that there was a waiting list. There's a lot of kids out there that are really dealing with some big stuff. I called the social worker here at school, and they told me to bring him to the hospital emergency room or urgent care and just say that he's feeling suicidal, and they kind of took it from there. They brought in someone from Ottawa County Mental Health who assessed him, interviewed both us and him, and he decided from that point that he needed immediate therapy.
Wow, the feelings, because this is very new for me, it's very raw. I felt sadness. My heart physically hurt. Guilt as a parent. you carry this guilt. It's an illness, and I know it's not my fault, but nonetheless, I was so overwhelmed, being thrown into something you know nothing about.
Misunderstanding, total misunderstanding. Embarrassed, at how she would handle things or how she would react to things. As an adult, I learned to have forgiveness and empathy.
We've been through a lot of health issues in our house, even a scare of cancer with one of my other children. Nothing compares to the thought of having him be so sad and not being able to help.
I remember her telling me that it was one of the hardest things she heard, because she struggled a lot with that when she was younger, and she knew what it was like.
Denial. It can't be my son. He's got it together. He's made profession of faith. My son liked to help other people. He always talked about how he would lend a helping hand or try to extend a lifeline to people or to kids that he knew that were dealing with some life issues. He would kind of do what he could to help them. So I thought, why would he extend a helping hand when he could barely hold himself above water? Oh, I hate to even admit it, but how much is this going to cost? What's our insurance going to cover? And it's terrible to admit, but it's normal, I think, as a parent to right away think, I don't know if we can afford this. But ultimately, you can't put a price tag on your child's head. There's no amount of money that I wouldn't give to save my son.
You know, the best advice that I could give is walk hand in hand with your child with this. Walk every step next to them with this. Take it serious.
Empathy really changes relationships. I believe that, when I learned to have empathy toward my mom, I learned how to have a relationship with her.
Just keep talking, even small talk. Don't let them close you out, because when you close you out, you might lose it all.
It still comes and goes a lot. Talking to friends, just hanging out with friends can distract you from all the things that you're struggling and dealing with.
Be active in the treatment and the therapy. Get therapy yourself.
If you suspect or think that there is some sort of mental illness going on, I would first and foremost say don't ever downplay it. Don't assume. Don't brush it aside.
Don't be afraid to seek help. The longer we wait, the more damaging it can become, or the more permanent it can become.
Using the words that people don't want to use. The words about asking if they feel they're suicidal. Have they had thoughts of harming themselves? Look for the signs that are on them. Something we noticed was the cutting. And we did come to find out that the cutting is actually something kids do to relieve that stress. It's not an action of wanting to commit suicide at that point. Find somebody that can talk to them. Get people involved that maybe can relate with them, whether it be a parent or grandparent or friend.
Don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's not your fault.
The kids know, be nice. They're taught the meaning behind it, but to actually follow through is huge. It's choose your words wisely, but choose your actions wiser. Be that person that can make that change in a day for someone.
There's the notice and invite yourself to a conversation, challenge the stigma, and don't be afraid to provide resources, for people that are struggling, and empower.
Be nice to me means mental health awareness.
It's not so much just, don't bully people.
Well, at first, Be Nice meant an anti-bully thing at school only. It really didn't pertain to me as an adult, I thought, and to be honest, I really didn't pay much attention to it. Now, it's a whole new thing. To me, it means hope. I see a way better future ahead of us if we can be educated and learn to help other people, help ourselves through some really hard, tough times in our lives.
There's such a stigma that comes with this, even down to the way that I'm treated at times. And it kills me because as an adult I have thicker skin and I'm a little wiser than a child. But it still hurts on a level that nobody's asked for this. Mental health is an illness, and I think people seem to forget that, and they give it a label that really isn't a fair labeling.
It takes more energy to be mean than it does to be nice.
Actually, it's my son's advice. I asked him this very question this morning. He said, ask. ask and then listen. They're not looking for an answer. They just need someone to listen and just not be judgmental.
My name is Michelle, and my daughter suffers from severe depression and anxiety, and I am here to end the stigma of mental health.
I'm Michelle Brennan. My mom struggles with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, and I am helping to stamp out the stigma of mental health.
I am Amber Kenneschnicht. My son struggles with anxiety and depression. I am helping to fight the behind it, have the unspoken spoken.
I am Zach. I struggle with depression, and I'm fighting to end this stigma.
I'm Amy Skierhorn. My son is suffering from depression, and I am fighting to stomp out the stigma of mental health.